Come in. Come in and sit down. We're running a little bit late. I'm Tim Condon. Hi, Tim. Hi. What's your name? Listen, Chris Lawless has asked me to do an introduction of who you're going to hear speak right now. His name is Bob Giuda. Bob is a personal friend of mine. He's running for the Congress in the 2nd Congressional District. 2nd Congressional District in New Hampshire. And I think we all know, everybody understands that whoever wins the primary, the Republican primary in both the 1st and the 2nd Congressional District is going to be the new representative from New Hampshire, because the Republicans are going to wipe out the Democrats on both sides. So let me tell you a little bit about Bob Giuda just before he gets up here, and I'm going to go real quick. He's a graduate of the Naval Academy. He was a Marine attack pilot. He flew off aircraft carriers, a combat attack pilot. He was an FBI agent. He was in the State House of Representatives for 3 terms. He's been married for 28 years. He has 3 kids. His 2 daughters are married to veterans. His son is going in as an officer in the Navy. Blah, blah, blah. You don't care about any of that, right? You want to know what are his positions on issues of freedom. What are his positions in terms of liberty? You're going to hear from him, but let me tell you a couple of things. In the wake of 9/11, remember there was a movement to arm pilots, commercial pilots. He was one of the people driving that nationally. The Bush administration squelched it because, oh, it's too dangerous for pilots to have guns. He was one of the ones that was armed. He was pushing it nationally. More importantly, in the wake of the Kelo decision, where the Supreme Court said that anybody's property can be stolen by local politicos and local developers, he was the one that ushered through the state constitutional amendment in the state of New Hampshire to put a stop to Kelo. It cannot happen here because the state constitution forbids it. Because Bob, a good example is
Thank you, Tim. I'm going to be brief because a fellow that's much more articulate than I is following shortly. I am Bob Giuda. I'm running for Congress, but this isn't about me. This is about you and our country. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights, amongst which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our country was founded based on 3 principles, and its survival depends on our ability as citizens to recover those principles and put them back into government. First, personal, individual responsibility. It all breaks down when we become dependent on the government through things like Social Security, Medicare, the hospital health care takeover that we're envisioning. It's nothing to do with health care, it's everything to do with dependency on the government. And it's lethal to freedom. Personal responsibility. We take care of ourselves. Personal responsibility. 30% of the voters that are eligible to vote actually go to the polls. That means that about 9% of America runs the country. We have to get new people out to vote. Let's talk for a minute about individual liberty. The first 10 amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, under constant continual assault, and I witnessed this as an FBI agent. They're just doing their job, but their job is to take away people's constitutional rights. There's a constant war in the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments that goes on continually. And cases continually go through the federal circuit courts to the appellate courts up to the Supreme Court on that continually. Let's talk about net neutrality. That's a First Amendment violation. Let's talk about McCain-Feingold. Anybody that read the Constitution once at the age of 6 would know that McCain-Feingold was unconstitutional as it was being written. That document passed the United States House, the United States Senate, and the President of the United States signed it. Those people are sworn to protect our Constitution, support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. They violated that oath, knowingly or otherwise, and our country's the worse for it. It took 6 years in the Supreme Court and millions of dollars to figure out what we already know. You can't truncate what I say or what I spend. That's my right. We are faced now with a threat in this healthcare business. That's a lethal threat to the Republic. If this thing passes, our job is to tie it up in constitutional lawsuits from now until forever. The third aspect, economic freedom. If I make $100 and I keep $100, I'm totally free. If I make $100 and $40 of that goes to the feds and the state, I'm 40% of the way to slavery. The first fruits of a man or woman's labor should not go to government. It should go to your family, or your church, or whatever you choose to give it to. Not to Uncle Sam and Uncle State and Uncle County and Uncle Local. So I'm going to be very, very brief in saying that those three things, to the degree that we undermine them, individual responsibility, personal liberty, and economic freedom, undermine the foundation of our country. We're at a crossroads today. Okay? And this next Congress, in my opinion, I'm 58 years old, this next Congress will be the one that determines which direction our country goes. There are only two. Either we are going to sit idly by and not talk to neighbors about politics, and we're going to allow our country to become a nation that dictates outcomes in which everyone is equal in the outcome and our freedom is lost. Or we're going to become a nation whose people take back the governance of that nation and insist that its only real obligation is to sustain and maintain the freedoms which were given to us by many who have bled and died, by many who have fought in Congress and otherwise. Two choices, only two. I did a 2-day campaign swing through southern New Hampshire the last couple of days. And before I left my home, I'll close with this. Before I left my home, I went up to my daughter's bedroom. She's married to a combat vet from Iraq. I looked at my 5-month-old grandson. He was awake and he was just looking at the ceiling. And I looked at him and I said, you know, if we don't get this right this time, that child and hundreds of millions of other children in America and around the world will never even know what we allowed to be stolen from them. It's our job to take it back. Thank you for joining me in the fight. Let's have a great night tonight.